My name is Ethan Wallace. I'm 28 years old, and 2 hours ago my family called the caterer to cancel my law school graduation party without telling me. The owner called them right back and exposed everything I'd been planning for 6 months. I was sitting in Bernard Costa's catering office when it happened. Not coincidentally. I'd asked Bernard to meet me there specifically at 10 a.m., the exact time I knew my mother would be making her move. Through Bernard's speakerphone, I heard my mother's voice dripping with false regret. "Mr. Costa, I'm Patricia Wallace, Ethan's mother. I'm calling to cancel the party scheduled for tonight. My son has decided he doesn't want to celebrate after all. Such a shame, but you understand how young people are. We'd like a full refund, of course." Bernard looked at me, eyebrows raised. I held up one finger, signaling him to wait. I wanted to hear all of it. "I see," Bernard said carefully. "And does Ethan know you're making this call?" "I'm his mother," Patricia replied, her tone sharpening. "I don't need his permission to handle family matters. Now, about that refund—" "Mrs. Wallace, I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding," Bernard interrupted. "Ethan is actually sitting in my office right now. Would you like to speak with him?" The silence on the other end lasted 5 full seconds. I could practically hear the gears grinding in my mother's head, trying to calculate her next move. "That's impossible," she finally said. "Ethan is at his apartment. I just spoke with his landlord." I leaned toward the speakerphone. "Hi, Mom." Surprise. Another pause, shorter this time before she recovered. "Ethan, honey, I can explain. Your father and I were just trying to save you from embarrassment. Vanessa told us you've been stressed about the party, and we thought you'd cancel my graduation party 6 hours before it starts." I kept my voice level, almost pleasant. "The party I paid for entirely with my own money? The party celebrating my acceptance to Northwestern Law? We're just concerned about you, sweetheart," she said, switching tactics. "These elaborate celebrations, they're not really you. Remember your college graduation? You said yourself you didn't enjoy all the fuss." That was true. I had said that. What I hadn't known then was that my family had spent my entire college graduation party comparing me unfavorably to Vanessa, who'd graduated summa cum laude from Harvard Business School. Every guest had heard about Vanessa's perfect GPA, her prestigious internships, her brilliant future. My own magna cum laude from Northwestern had barely warranted a mention. "Mr. Costa," my mother continued when I didn't respond, "surely you can see this is a family matter. We're simply trying to do what's best for our son." Bernard, who'd been running his catering business for 15 years and had probably seen every variety of family dysfunction, gave me a questioning look. I nodded. "Mrs. Wallace," he said, his voice professional but firm, "Ethan paid in full for this event 2 weeks ago. The contract he signed is non-refundable within 72 hours of the event. Even if he wanted to cancel, which he clearly doesn't, I couldn't legally refund the money at this point." "That's ridiculous," my mother snapped, her polite facade cracking. "What kind of business operates like that? The kind that has to purchase specific ingredients, hire staff, and turn down other bookings," Bernard replied. "It's standard industry practice, and it's clearly outlined in the contract, which Ethan read and signed." I had indeed read every word of that contract, twice. "Fine," my mother said coldly. "Then I suppose Ethan can enjoy his party by himself. His father and I won't be attending. Neither will Vanessa." "Actually, Mom, I already knew you weren't planning to come." The sharp intake of breath on the other end told me I'd landed that blow perfectly. "What are you talking about?" she asked. "Of course we were planning to attend. We're your parents." I pulled out my phone and opened my email. "Really? Because I have a forwarded message here from Vanessa to her friend Ashley, dated 4 days ago. Would you like me to read it?" Silence. "Can you believe Ethan is still going through with this party?" I read aloud. "Mom and Dad are going to make up some excuse to skip it. Probably say Dad has a work emergency. I'm supposed to claim I have a migraine. Honestly, after all the money they spent on my celebrations, you'd think he'd have the grace to just do something small. But no, he has to make it all about him. Again." Bernard's expression had gone from professional neutral to visibly uncomfortable. This was clearly more family drama than he'd bargained for. "How did you—" my mother started. "Ashley forwarded it to me," I said. "She thought I should know. Turns out not everyone thinks treating your son like an afterthought is acceptable behavior. Ethan, you're being ridiculous, my mother said, but I could hear the panic creeping into her voice. You're taking things out of context. We were planning to attend, but your father does have an important work commitment tonight, and Vanessa has been dealing with terrible migraines. Stop, I said quietly. Just stop lying. For the first time in my 28 years, my mother went completely silent. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. My party will proceed exactly as planned. Bernard has my menu preferences, which I personally selected without any input from you. The guest list consists of my friends, my professors, my colleagues, and my mentors, people who actually wanted to celebrate this achievement with me. You didn't even invite your own family? She sounded genuinely shocked. I sent you an invitation. You RSVP'd yes. Then Vanessa told Ashley you were all going to skip it. So 3 days ago, I sent a follow-up email to the three of you, and only the three of you, changing the venue to a completely different location across town. I watched Bernard's eyes widen as he understood what I'd done. The invitation you received listed the party at the Waterfront Hotel Banquet Hall, I explained. But my actual party is at Riverside Event Hall. Has been all along. I only told you it was at the waterfront to see what you'd do. You set us up, my mother breathed. I gave you a test, I corrected. You failed, so let me get this straight, my mother said, her voice hardening into the tone she used when she was about to deliver a lecture. You deliberately deceived your own family because you wanted to catch us in some imaginary slight? This is paranoid, Ethan. You need help. Is it paranoid when the threat is real? I asked. You just tried to cancel my party 6 hours before it starts. That's not imaginary, Mom. That actually happened. Bernard heard the whole thing. Because we were trying to save you from humiliation, she exploded. Do you have any idea how many people have told us about your ridiculous party? Catered dinner for 50 people? An open bar? For what, Ethan? You got into Northwestern Law. Congratulations. You'll be a first-year law student living on loans while Vanessa is making 6 figures at her consulting firm. But sure, throw yourself a party like you just won the Nobel Prize. There it was. The real issue, finally out in the open. I see, I said. So the problem isn't that I'm celebrating. It's that I'm celebrating something you don't think is worth celebrating. Don't put words in my mouth. Then let me use your actual words, I said, from a conversation you had with Aunt Linda last month, which she recorded and sent to me. My mother's breathing changed. Linda wouldn't. Ethan's party is going to be so embarrassing, I quoted. He's acting like getting into a second-tier law school is some major achievement. If he'd gotten into Harvard like Vanessa, that would be one thing. But Northwestern? Please. He's just trying to make himself feel special. I never said second tier, my mother protested weakly. You did, actually. I have the recording. Would you like me to play it? Bernard quietly stood and moved toward the door of his office, clearly wanting to give me privacy. I shook my head. I wanted a witness to this. Ethan. My mother tried again. You're taking everything so personally. We're proud of you. We really are. We just don't understand why you need such an extravagant celebration for something that's really just the beginning of more hard work. Law school is going to be difficult, expensive. Are you sure you want to start it off by blowing $8,000 on a party? $8,500, I corrected. And yes, I'm sure, because this party isn't just about law school, Mom. It's about every achievement you've minimized, every accomplishment you've compared to Vanessa's, every time you've made me feel like nothing I do will ever be good enough. That's not fair, isn't it? I interrupted. When I graduated college magna cum laude, you spent my entire party telling everyone about Vanessa's summa cum laude. When I got promoted to senior marketing associate, you asked why I wasn't a director yet like Vanessa. When I got engaged to Michelle, you asked when Vanessa was going to find someone. Then when Vanessa got engaged 6 months later, you threw her a party that cost $20,000. That was different, my mother said. The families needed to meet. My party tonight cost less than half of Vanessa's engagement party, I said. And I paid for every penny of it myself. You haven't contributed a single dollar, so I'm not sure what gives you the right to cancel it. I'm your mother. That gives me the right. No, I said firmly. It doesn't. The silence stretched between us, Bernard's office clock ticking loudly. Are you still planning to show up at the Waterfront Hotel tonight? I asked. To make sure the party you think is happening actually gets ruined? More silence. I thought so, I said. Well, I hope you enjoy spending your evening at an empty banquet hall. I hear they have lovely views of the parking lot. Ethan, wait. I ended the call. Bernard let out a long, low whistle. That was intense. It's been building for 28 years, I said, standing up. Tonight's just the breaking point. For what it's worth, Bernard said, I think you deserve to celebrate. Getting into Northwestern law is a huge accomplishment. Your family should be proud of you. Thanks, I said. But I'm not doing this for them anymore. I'm doing it for me. As I left Bernard's office, my phone buzzed with a text from Vanessa. Mom just called me crying. What did you do? I smiled and kept walking. I didn't respond to Vanessa's text. Instead, I drove to Riverside Event Hall to do a final walkthrough with the event's coordinator. My phone buzzed continuously during the 20-minute drive. 7 calls from my mother, 3 from my father, and a stream of texts from Vanessa ranging from concerned to accusatory. The event hall looked perfect. White tablecloths, centerpieces with deep blue hydrangeas, Northwestern's colors, and a banner reading, "Congratulations, Ethan, Northwestern Law 2024. Bernard's team was already setting up the buffet stations, and the bartender was arranging glasses at the open bar. Everything looks amazing, I told Rebecca, the coordinator. Thank you for making this happen. It's our pleasure, she said warmly. Bernard told me this is a special one. Said you've been planning it for months. 6 months, I confirmed. Since I got my acceptance letter. My phone rang again. My father this time. I considered ignoring it, but decided to answer. Better to deal with this now than have them show up at the actual venue later. Ethan? What the hell is going on? Gerald Wallace's voice boomed through the speaker. Your mother is hysterical. She says you accused her of trying to sabotage your party. She didn't try to sabotage it, Dad. She actually called the caterer to cancel it. This morning, 6 hours before the event. So, she was trying to save you money, he said, but there was uncertainty in his voice. She thought you were making a mistake, spending so much on a party when you're about to take on massive student loans. Did she try to save Vanessa money when you threw her that $20,000 engagement party? I asked. That was different. That was family money. You're paying for this yourself. Exactly, I said, which means it's my decision. Not Mom's, not yours. Mine. You're being disrespectful, my father said, his voice hardening. Your mother raised you better than this. She deserves an apology. I laughed, surprising myself with the bitterness in it. An apology? For what? Catching her trying to cancel my party? Or for the past 28 years of being treated like Vanessa's understudy? Nobody has ever treated you like that. Really? Name one achievement of mine that you've celebrated without comparing it to something Vanessa did better. The silence on the other end told me everything. That's what I thought, I said. Look, Dad, I need to go. I have a party to prepare for. You and Mom and Vanessa are welcome to spend your evening at the waterfront hotel waiting for an event that was never going to happen there. Or you could stay home. Either way, I'm done letting you make me feel inadequate. Ethan! I ended the call and turned off my phone. Rebecca was pretending not to have overheard, but the sympathetic look she gave me said otherwise. Family can be complicated, she offered. That's one word for it, I muttered. The next few hours passed in a blur of final preparations. The DJ arrived and set up his equipment. The photographer I'd hired showed up early to capture some pre-party shots of the venue. Everything was coming together exactly as I'd planned. Around 4 o'clock, my friend Jordan arrived, the first of my guests to show up early. Dude, he said, looking around the hall. This is incredible. Way better than those sad pizza parties we threw in college. That's the idea, I said. I wanted to do something memorable, something that actually reflects how important this achievement is to me. Your family coming? Jordan asked casually. No, I said. Long story. Want to talk about it? Not particularly. Jordan nodded, understanding. Well, everyone else is stoked to be here. Michelle's been texting me asking if she can help set up. Michelle. My girlfriend of 2 years, who'd supported me through every late-night study session, every LSAT practice test, every anxious wait for acceptance letters, who'd never once compared me to anyone else or made me feel like my goals weren't good enough. She's already done more than enough, I said. She helped me pick out everything from the menu to the decorations. By 6 o'clock, the hall was filling with guests. My law school classmates, professors from Northwestern, colleagues from the marketing firm where I still worked part-time, and friends from college. 50 people who genuinely wanted to celebrate with me. Professor Diane Chen from Northwestern's admissions office arrived with a gift bag. "Ethan, I'm so glad you invited me. We don't often get to celebrate with our incoming students like this. Thank you for coming, Professor. It means a lot. Please, call me Diane. We're going to be seeing a lot of each other over the next 3 years." She lowered her voice. "I heard your family couldn't make it?" Word traveled fast, apparently. "They had other commitments," I said diplomatically. Diane studied my face for a moment. "Well, their loss is our gain. I brought you a copy of Getting to Maybe. Best law school exam prep book ever written. You'll thank me during finals." As she moved toward the buffet, Michelle appeared at my elbow. She looked stunning in a navy dress that matched the color scheme I'd chosen. "How are you holding up?" she asked quietly. "Better than expected," I said honestly. "Being here, seeing all these people who actually care, it helps." "Your mom called me," Michelle said carefully. "Twice. She wanted me to convince you to cancel the party and stop this nonsense." "What did you tell her?" "I told her I was proud of you and that she should be too." Michelle squeezed my hand. She didn't take it well. I'm sure she didn't. "She said I was enabling your delusions of grandeur." Michelle's expression hardened. "I may have told her that the only delusional one was her, thinking Northwestern Law School was something to be ashamed of. Despite everything, I smiled. "You didn't." "I absolutely did. Then she said I was a bad influence on you and that our relationship was toxic." "She said what?" "Verbatim." Michelle pulled out her phone and showed me a text message from my mother. "You're encouraging Ethan's worst impulses. A good partner would help him see reason, not support this wasteful display. Your relationship is clearly toxic for him." I stared at the message, anger rising in my chest. She has no right. "Hey," Michelle said, putting her phone away and taking both my hands. "Don't let her ruin this night. She's not here. She doesn't get to have power over this moment. This is your night, Ethan. Own it." She was right. I took a deep breath and looked around the room. Jordan was talking animatedly with some of my law school classmates. Professor Chen was laughing at something the DJ had said. The photographer was capturing candid shots of people enjoying the cocktail hour. This was exactly what I wanted. A celebration surrounded by people who supported me. At 7 o'clock, Bernard signaled that dinner was ready. The buffet he'd prepared was spectacular. 3 protein options, 4 sides, salad bar, and a dessert table that looked like something from a wedding. I'd spared no expense, and it showed. As people filled their plates and found seats, Jordan clinked his glass to get everyone's attention. "Before we eat," he announced, "I just want to say something about our guest of honor. I've known Ethan since freshman year of college, and I've watched him work harder than anyone I know to get where he is." While the rest of us were sleeping in and playing video games, Ethan was in the library. While we were nursing hangovers, he was studying for the LSAT. He earned this moment, and I'm proud to call him my friend. To Ethan. "To Ethan!" the room echoed, raising their glasses. I felt my throat tighten with emotion. When was the last time my family had toasted me without qualification, without comparison, without subtle jabs disguised as compliments? Never. The answer was never. Michelle stood next. "I also want to say something, if that's okay." I nodded, curious. "When Ethan first told me he was applying to law schools, he was terrified," she said. "Not of the work. He's never been afraid of hard work. He was terrified that he wouldn't be good enough, that he'd apply and get rejected and prove right everyone who'd ever doubted him." She looked directly at me. "But you did it, Ethan. You got into an incredible school. And more importantly, you stopped letting other people's opinions define your worth. I'm so proud of you." The applause that followed was genuine and warm. Several people wiped their eyes. "Speech!" someone called out. I stood up, my mind racing. I hadn't prepared anything. I'd been so focused on the logistics of the party that I hadn't thought about what I'd actually say. "Thank you all for being here," I started. 6 months ago, when I got my acceptance letter from Northwestern, the first thing I did was call my mom. I was so excited I could barely speak. And do you know what she said? The room went quiet. She said, "That's nice, honey, Did you hear that Vanessa got promoted to senior consultant? That was it. That was the entire conversation about my law school acceptance. I could see people exchanging uncomfortable glances. For a long time, I let that define how I felt about my achievement, I continued. If my own mother didn't think it was worth celebrating, maybe it wasn't. Maybe I was making too big a deal out of it. Maybe Northwestern wasn't good enough. But then I realized something, I said, looking around at the faces of my friends and mentors. The people who matter, the people who actually know me and support me, they were excited. They were proud. They wanted to celebrate. So I decided to throw this party not because I need validation from people who will never give it, but because I deserve to celebrate my achievements with people who genuinely care. The applause was thunderous. So thank you, I said, raising my glass. Thank you for seeing me, for supporting me, and for being here tonight. This means more to me than you know. As I sat down, my phone, which I'd turned back on to take photos, lit up with a notification. A text from an unknown number. I opened it and felt my stomach drop. It was a photo of my mother, father, and Vanessa standing in the empty banquet hall at the waterfront hotel. They were all dressed up, looking around at the vacant room with confusion on their faces. The caption read, "We're here. Where are you?" They'd actually shown up, to the fake location, expecting to find me. A second text came through, this time from Vanessa's number. "This isn't funny, Ethan. Where is everyone? Did you cancel the party?" I showed Michelle the texts. Her eyes widened. "They really went to the waterfront?" she whispered. "Apparently." "What are you going to do?" I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds, then typed back, "The party's at Riverside Event Hall. It's been at Riverside all along. But don't bother coming. You're not on the guest list." I hit send and turned my phone off again. Michelle stared at me. "Ethan Wallace, that was ice cold." "Good," I said. "I'm done being the warm, understanding one while they treat me like garbage." 20 minutes later, as people were finishing their main courses and the DJ was setting up for dancing, there was a commotion at the entrance. Rebecca hurried over to me, looking flustered. "Your family is here," she said quietly. "They're demanding to be let in. I told them they're not on the list, but they're insisting it's a mistake." I stood up. "I'll handle it." Michelle grabbed my arm. "Want backup?" "No," I said. "I need to do this alone." At the entrance, my mother, father, and Vanessa stood arguing with the door attendant I'd specifically hired for this purpose. My mother's face was flushed with anger and embarrassment. My father looked uncomfortable in his suit. Vanessa was scrolling through her phone, probably trying to text me again. "Ethan!" my mother exclaimed when she saw me. "Thank God! This woman won't let us in. Tell her who we are." "I know who you are," I said calmly. "That's why you're not on the list." My mother's face went pale. "What?" "You're not invited," I said clearly. "This party is for people who actually support me. You don't qualify. We're your parents," my father said, his voice tight. "Of course we support you." "Really? Is that why you tried to cancel my party this morning? Is that why you went to the waterfront hotel planning to sabotage the event you thought was happening there?" Vanessa's head snapped up. "We weren't going to sabotage anything. We just wanted to talk to you." "At the wrong venue? That's an interesting coincidence." "Ethan, please," my mother said, her voice breaking. "Don't do this. Don't embarrass us like this." "Embarrass you?" I repeated. "How do you think I've felt for the past 28 years? Every achievement minimized, every success compared to Vanessa, every moment that should have been mine turned into a referendum on why I'm not good enough? That's not—" my father started. "Yes, it is," I interrupted. "And I'm done pretending it isn't. You made your choice this morning when you called Bernard. You chose not to support me. So I'm choosing not to include you." Through the doorway behind me, I could hear laughter and music from my party, my real celebration, with my real support system. "You're going to regret this," my mother said, her voice cold again. "When you need us, I won't," I said simply. "I have everything I need, and none of it came from you." I turned and walked back into my party, leaving them standing in the hallway. The door attendant, bless her, stood firm as they continued to protest behind me. The party continued without further interruption. My family left eventually. I didn't watch them go. Instead, I focused on the celebration, dancing with Michelle, laughing with Jordan, and accepting congratulations from people who genuinely meant them. Around 10 o'clock, as the party was winding down, Professor Chen pulled me aside. "I hope you don't mind," she said, "but I overheard what happened at the door earlier." I tensed. "I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to create a scene." "Don't apologize," she interrupted. "I wanted to tell you something. When I reviewed your application to Northwestern, do you know what stood out to me?" I shook my head. "Your personal statement," she said. "You wrote about growing up in your sister's shadow and how it taught you that success isn't about being better than someone else. It's about being better than you were yesterday." That essay was the most honest, self-aware thing I read in the entire application cycle. "Thank you," I managed. "What you did tonight, setting boundaries, demanding respect, that takes the same kind of self-awareness," she continued. "Law school is going to be challenging. You'll face people who try to make you feel inadequate, professors who seem impossible to please, competitions you might not win. But if you can stand up to your own family, you can handle anything law school throws at you." Her words settled something in my chest that had been unsettled since my confrontation at the door. The party ended just after 11. As guests left, nearly everyone stopped to thank me and congratulate me again. Several people mentioned they'd noticed the tension at the door and respected how I'd handled it. Jordan was one of the last to leave. "That was the best party I've been to in years," he said, hugging me. "And I'm not just saying that because of the open bar. Thanks for the toast earlier," I said. "It meant a lot." "I meant every word." He paused. "Your family really screwed up, man. But their loss. You're going to kill it at Northwestern. After everyone left, I helped Bernard's team clean up. They insisted I didn't need to, but I wanted to. This was my party, my achievement, my moment. I wanted to be part of every aspect of it." "Quite an evening," Bernard said as we stacked chairs. "Not your typical graduation party." "No," I agreed, "but exactly what I needed." As I drove home with Michelle later, she asked the question I'd been avoiding all night. "Do you think you'll regret it? Turning them away?" "No," I said immediately. Then, more honestly, "Maybe someday, but not tonight. Tonight I did what I should have done years ago." My apartment felt quiet after the noise and energy of the party. Michelle made tea while I checked my phone, which I'd left off since turning away my family. 43 missed calls, 62 text messages, 7 voicemails. I didn't read or listen to any of them. "You okay?" Michelle asked, handing me a mug. "I will be," I said. The next morning, I woke up to find my mother had called my landlord, my employer, and somehow even Northwestern's admissions office. She'd told all of them some version of the same story. I was having a mental breakdown, making irrational decisions, pushing away my family without cause. My landlord, Frank Martinez, called me directly. "Your mother seems very concerned about you," he said carefully. "She asked me to do a wellness check." "I'm fine, Frank," I assured him. "I'm not having a breakdown. I just had a disagreement with my family. She mentioned something about you spending your savings recklessly." "I threw a graduation party," I said. "It was expensive, but it was planned and budgeted for. She's angry because I didn't invite her after she tried to cancel it." Frank was quiet for a moment. "Okay, that's what I needed to know. I'll let her know I checked and you're doing fine." My employer, the marketing firm where I worked, was less understanding. My boss, Karen Phillips, called me into her office Monday morning, looking concerned. "Ethan, I received a disturbing call from your mother over the weekend," she said. "She suggested you might be struggling with some personal issues that could affect your work performance." I felt my face flush with anger. "That's not true. I've had perfect attendance and my performance reviews have been excellent." "I know that," Karen said gently, "which is why I'm confused. She seemed to think you were about to make some rash decisions." "Something about law school? I'm starting at Northwestern in the fall," I explained. "I've been planning to transition to part-time work here, which we already discussed. My mother is unhappy about my decision to go to law school instead of staying in marketing full-time." Understanding dawned on Karen's face. "I see. So this is family disapproval, not a mental health crisis." "Exactly." "Well, for what it's worth, I think law school is a great move for you," Karen said. "You've always been more interested in the legal side of marketing anyway, and Northwestern is an excellent school." "Thank you," I said, relieved. But the most concerning call had been to Northwestern. Professor Chen contacted me directly. "Ethan, I wanted to give you a heads up, she said. Someone claiming to be your mother called our office claiming you'd forged your acceptance letter and were planning to show up to orientation under false pretenses. My stomach dropped. She what? Obviously, we verified that you're a legitimate admitted student, Chen said, but she was quite insistent. She demanded we revoke your acceptance on grounds of mental instability. I'm so sorry, I said, mortified. She's upset that I didn't invite her to my graduation party. I never imagined she'd take it this far. Don't apologize. You're not responsible for her behavior. Chen paused. However, I do need to ask, is there any chance she'll continue to interfere with your enrollment? We've had cases where family members have sabotaged students' educations out of spite. I don't know, I admitted. But I'll handle it. This is my education, not hers. See that you do, Chen said firmly. Because if this continues, we may need to get our legal team involved. We take harassment of our students seriously, even when it comes from family. After hanging up, I sat in my apartment, shaking with rage. My mother had called my landlord, my boss, and my law school. She'd tried to frame me as mentally unstable to anyone who would listen. All because I'd thrown a party without her permission and refused to let her ruin it. This was beyond disappointment or hurt feelings. This was sabotage. I called my father. He answered on the second ring. Ethan, thank God. We need to talk about... Tell Mom to stop calling my contacts, I said, my voice deadly calm. She's called my landlord, my employer, and Northwestern. If she makes one more call trying to sabotage my life, I'm getting a restraining order. A restraining order? My father sputtered. Against your own mother? Have you lost your mind? No, but she apparently has. She told Northwestern I forged my acceptance letter. She told my boss I'm having a mental breakdown. She's trying to destroy my reputation because I threw a party she didn't approve of. She's your mother, Ethan. She's worried about you. Maybe if you'd just apologize for the way you treated her. Apologize? I laughed harshly. For what? Setting boundaries? For not letting her cancel my celebration? For refusing to be treated like a disappointment my entire life? Nobody has ever treated you like a disappointment. Then why did she try to cancel my party, Dad? Why couldn't she just be happy for me? Why does every achievement have to be about Vanessa? You're being irrational, my father said. Your mother loves you. She just thinks you're making poor financial decisions, and as your parents, we have a right to... You have no rights over my life anymore, I interrupted. I'm 28 years old. I'm financially independent. I'm making my own decisions. And if Mom keeps trying to interfere, I will pursue legal action. Tell her that. I hung up before he could respond. Michelle found me sitting on the couch, head in my hands. What happened? She asked softly. I told her about the calls to my landlord, employer, and school. Her expression grew darker with each detail. Ethan, that's harassment, she said. You should document all of this. Keep records of every call, every text, every attempt she makes to interfere with your life. You think it'll come to that? I think you need to be prepared, she said. Your mother isn't accepting your boundaries. She's escalating. People like that don't usually stop until they're forced to. She was right. Over the next week, my mother continued her campaign. She called my undergraduate alumni office claiming I'd lied about my achievements on my law school application. She contacted my apartment building's management company suggesting I was violating my lease. She even found my LSAT tutor from 6 months ago and tried to get her to say I'd cheated. Every allegation was easily disproven, but the pattern was clear. She was trying to systematically destroy any credibility I had. On Friday, exactly 1 week after my party, I received a certified letter from my parents' attorney. Inside was a formal demand that I repay them for all educational expenses incurred on my behalf since birth, totaling approximately $240,000. The letter claimed that since I was rejecting family values and refusing to maintain appropriate family relationships, I was in breach of an implicit familial contract and owed restitution. I stared at the letter in disbelief. They were actually trying to bill me for my childhood. I called the attorney whose name was on the letterhead, Nathan Torres. Mr. Torres, this is Ethan Wallace. I received your letter regarding my parents' claim. Ah, yes, Torres said. Your parents feel they're entitled to compensation for... Is this legally enforceable? I interrupted. A pause. In Illinois, parents cannot legally demand repayment for raising their child. However, your parents feel morally, so it's not legally enforceable. No, Torres admitted. But your parents wanted to put their feelings in writing, and they asked me to draft a formal letter expressing their position. I see. And did you explain to them that this letter has no legal standing and could actually be considered harassment? Another pause, longer this time. I advised them that the claim would be difficult to pursue legally. They insisted on sending the letter anyway. Then consider this my response, I said. If I receive any further communication from your office on behalf of my parents, I'll be filing a complaint with the Illinois State Bar Association for participating in targeted harassment. I'm sure they'll be very interested in why you sent a legally baseless demand letter designed to intimidate your client's son. Now wait I hung up. Michelle had been listening to the whole conversation. $240,000? She asked incredulously. Apparently I'm expensive, I said, tossing the letter aside. They even itemized it. $50,000 for private school tuition, $40,000 for college expenses, $15,000 for braces, $10,000 for summer camps. They literally added up every penny they spent on me from birth to age 18 and decided I owe them payback. That's insane. That's desperation, I corrected. They're running out of ways to hurt me, so they're trying financial intimidation. But I was done being intimidated. The next morning, I sat down at my laptop and opened a new document. For 3 hours, I typed. Every instance of favoritism I could remember. Every comparison to Vanessa. Every achievement of mine that had been minimized or ignored. Every time my mother had criticized my choices while praising my sister's identical ones. When I finished, I had a 15-page document detailing 28 years of systematic emotional neglect and manipulation. Then I sent it to every member of my extended family. My Aunt Linda, who'd recorded my mother's conversation about my embarrassing party, my Uncle Christopher, my father's brother who'd been ostracized for whistleblowing at the family business years ago, my cousins, my grandparents, everyone who'd ever witnessed my family's dynamics. The subject line read, "Why I don't have a relationship with my parents." Within an hour, my phone started ringing. Aunt Linda called first. "Ethan, I just read your email," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I had no idea it was this bad. I mean, I knew your mother favored Vanessa, but I didn't realize." "Nobody did," I said, "because I never said anything. I was the easy kid, the one who didn't make waves. But I'm done being easy." "Good," Linda said fiercely. "Your mother has been getting away with this behavior for far too long. Someone needed to call her out." Uncle Christopher called next. "Your email explained a lot," he said. "I always wondered why you seemed so withdrawn at family gatherings. Now I understand." "I just wanted everyone to know the truth," I said. "Before Mom spins this as me being unstable or ungrateful." "Oh, she's already tried," Christopher said darkly. "She called me yesterday claiming you were having some kind of breakdown. I told her I didn't believe it. Now I'm glad I trusted my instincts. But the most important call came from my grandmother, my father's mother, Evelyn Wallace. "Ethan, dear, I need you to come see me," she said. "Today, if possible." Grandma Evelyn lived in a senior community about 40 minutes from my apartment. I drove there immediately. She met me at the door of her cottage, a tiny woman with steel gray hair and sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. "Sit," she commanded, gesturing to her couch. "Tell me everything," so I did. For 90 minutes, I poured out the whole story. The party, the attempted cancellation, the confrontation, the escalating harassment from my mother. Grandma Evelyn listened without interrupting, her expression growing colder with each detail. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "I failed you," she finally said. I blinked. "What? I knew your mother favored Vanessa," she said. "I saw it happening and I didn't stop it. I told myself it wasn't my place to interfere with how Patricia raised her children. I was wrong. Grandma, this isn't your fault. Let me finish," she said firmly. "Your grandfather and I set up educational trusts for both you and Vanessa when you were born. $50,000 each meant to be used for college expenses." I nodded. I knew about the trust. My parents had used it for my tuition. "What you don't know," Grandma Evelyn continued, "is that your parents asked for early distribution of both trusts when Vanessa started college. They said they needed the money to send her to Harvard. My stomach sank. Both trusts? They used your trust fund to pay for Vanessa's education, Grandma Evelyn said flatly. Then when it came time for you to go to college, they told you the trust was depleted and you'd need to take out loans. I sat back, stunned. They stole my college fund? Technically, as your guardians, they had legal authority to redirect the funds. But morally? Yes, they stole from you to give to Vanessa. Does Vanessa know? I doubt it. Your parents probably told her the trust covered her tuition, which it did. They just didn't mention whose trust. I thought about all the times my parents had criticized my student loan debt. The subtle jabs about being more financially responsible. The comparisons to Vanessa who'd graduated debt-free. She'd graduated debt-free because she'd used my money. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Because you need to understand that this pattern has been going on longer than you realize, Grandma Evelyn said. Your mother has been prioritizing Vanessa over you since before you could even speak. It's not your fault. It's not something you caused. And it's not something you can fix by being more successful or more agreeable. She reached over and took my hand. You did the right thing, setting those boundaries, she continued, standing up to them. I'm proud of you, even if your parents aren't. Thank you, I managed, my voice rough. Now, Grandma Evelyn said briskly, about this harassment campaign your mother is running. I'm handling it. I'm sure you are, but you shouldn't have to handle it alone. She pulled out her phone. I'm calling my attorney. We're going to draft a cease and desist letter that will make your mother think twice about continuing this nonsense. Grandma, you don't have to. Yes, I do. You're my grandson, and you deserve better than this. Besides, she added with a grim smile, your mother has always been terrified of me. It's time I reminded her why. Over the next week, Grandma Evelyn's attorney sent formal cease and desist letters to both my parents, warning them that any further attempts to contact my employer, landlord, school, or other professional contacts would result in legal action for harassment and defamation. The letters also included a demand that they cease all public disparagement of my character and retract any false statements made to third parties. My mother's response was to call a family meeting at their house, inviting everyone in the extended family except me. Aunt Linda texted me about it. Your mom is trying to turn everyone against you. She's telling people you've become cruel and vindictive. Just wanted you to know. I wasn't surprised, but I also wasn't worried, because the night before the family meeting, I received an email from my father that changed everything. The subject line was blank. The body of the email contained only a forwarded message chain. The original message was from my mother to Vanessa, sent the morning of my graduation party. Make sure your father doesn't accidentally go to the Riverside location. We need everyone at Waterfront so we can stage an intervention. If Ethan goes through with this ridiculous party, we need to show him we won't support this kind of wasteful behavior. Once everyone sees the empty hall, he'll realize how foolish he's being. Vanessa's response, are you sure this is the right approach? What if he finds out? My mother, he won't. He's too trusting. Always has been. That's his weakness. My father had forwarded this without comment, but the message was clear. He'd found out what my mother had actually been planning, and it was worse than I'd thought. They hadn't just planned to skip my party. They'd planned to sabotage it by trying to lure my guests to the wrong location. I sat staring at the email for a long time. Then I did something I'd never done before. I forwarded it to everyone who'd been invited to the family meeting. Everyone who'd received my original email about why I'd cut contact, everyone who needed to see exactly who my mother was. The subject line of my email, this is what my mother planned to do to my graduation party. No explanation, no commentary, just my mother's own words, showing her true intentions. The family meeting happened without me, but I heard about it from multiple sources. According to Aunt Linda, my mother had planned to paint herself as the victim of a cruel, ungrateful son. She'd prepared a whole speech about how she'd only wanted what was best for me, how she'd been trying to save me from embarrassment and financial ruin. Then Uncle Christopher stood up and read my forwarded email aloud. The room went silent. My mother tried to explain, to provide context, to claim the email was taken out of context, but there was no context that made "that's his weakness" sound like anything other than calculated manipulation. My father sat silently through the whole meeting, apparently unwilling or unable to defend her. Vanessa, to her credit, looked horrified. She approached Uncle Christopher after the meeting and asked to see the full email chain. When she read it, she went pale. I didn't know. she said quietly. Mom told me we were just going to try to talk to him. She said she wanted to convince him to scale down the party, not sabotage it. Did you believe her? Christopher asked. Vanessa didn't answer. The aftermath was swift. Grandma Evelyn called my parents and informed them they were no longer welcome at family gatherings she hosted unless I was comfortable with their presence. Since I was definitely not comfortable, that effectively banned them from Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Easter celebrations. Aunt Linda did the same. Uncle Christopher followed suit. Within a week, my parents found themselves ostracized from most of the extended family. The people who'd once made excuses for their favoritism toward Vanessa could no longer ignore the evidence of deliberate cruelty. My mother tried to rally support, calling family members and painting herself as the victim of a conspiracy. But the email I'd forwarded was damning. Her own words proved everything I'd claimed about her behavior. 2 weeks after the family meeting, Vanessa showed up at my apartment. I almost didn't let her in. 5 minutes, she said through the door. Please, I need to say something. Against my better judgment, I opened the door. Vanessa looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, her usually perfect hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. I'm sorry, she said immediately. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know that I'm sorry. I crossed my arms, waiting. I've spent the last 2 weeks reading through everything you sent the family, she continued. All the examples of how Mom and Dad treated you differently. And I've been trying to remember those moments from my perspective, and... She paused, blinking back tears. I didn't see it, Ethan. Or I didn't want to see it. I was so focused on my own achievements, on making them proud, that I never noticed they were using me as a weapon against you. You participated willingly, I said coldly. Every time you went along with their comparisons, every time you let them put you on a pedestal at my expense, you chose to be part of it. I know, she whispered. You're right. I should have stood up for you. I should have told them to stop. But I liked being the favorite. I liked being praised, and it was easier to ignore what it cost you. So why are you here now? Because I also just found out about your college fund, Vanessa said. Grandma Evelyn told me. Mom and Dad used your money to pay for my Harvard tuition. I hadn't known Grandma had shared that information with Vanessa. They told me the trust fund covered it, Vanessa continued, her voice shaking. They never said it was your trust. I had no idea. I've been working for 6 years, Ethan. I've paid off all my student loans, except I didn't have student loans because I used your money. Congratulations on your debt-free status, I said bitterly. I want to pay you back, she said quickly. $50,000. The full amount of the trust they stole from you. I have it saved. I was going to use it as a down payment on a condo, but you should have it. It's yours. I stared at her. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. Because you deserve to graduate without debt just as much as I did. Because I benefited from their favoritism even if I didn't realize it, and I want to make it right. It won't make us even, I said. Money doesn't fix 28 years of being second best. I know, but it's a start. She pulled out her phone and showed me her banking app. I can transfer it right now if you give me your account information, or I can write you a check, however you want it. I thought about refusing, about telling her that her guilt money meant nothing to me. But $50,000 would completely eliminate my student loans, would give me financial freedom to focus on law school without the constant stress of debt, and more importantly, accepting it would mean Vanessa actually faced a consequence for benefiting from my parents' favoritism. Transfer it, I said, and gave her my account information. She completed the transfer while standing in my doorway. $50,000 moved in 30 seconds. Thank you, I said stiffly. I don't deserve your thanks. This is the least I can do. Vanessa hesitated. I know you don't want a relationship with Mom and Dad right now. I get that. But is there any chance you'd be willing to talk to me sometimes? Not often. Just, I don't want to lose my brother completely. I considered her request. Vanessa had enabled our parents' behavior, but she'd also just voluntarily given up $50,000 to right a wrong she'd benefited from. We'll see, I said finally. No promises. She nodded, accepting that. Okay, that's fair. After she left, I checked my bank account. The $50,000 was there, real and tangible. I immediately paid off my entire student loan balance. The satisfaction of seeing that debt reduced to zero was almost physical. Then I called Michelle. How would you feel about taking a weekend trip? I asked. Somewhere nice, my treat. What's the occasion? I'm debt-free, I said, smiling for what felt like the first time in weeks. And I want to celebrate with someone who actually supports me. We went to Door County for a long weekend, stayed in a nice bed and breakfast, ate at expensive restaurants, went wine tasting. I spent freely, not worried about the cost for the first time in years. On our last night there, as we watched the sunset over Lake Michigan, Michelle asked me something I'd been avoiding thinking about. Do you think you'll ever forgive them? Your parents? I thought about it carefully before answering. Forgiveness implies they've acknowledged what they did wrong, I said. They haven't. Mom is still playing the victim. Dad is still enabling her. Neither of them has actually apologized or shown any understanding of why I'm hurt. So that's a no? That's a not, unless something fundamental changes, I clarified. And I don't think it will. My mother is incapable of admitting fault. My father is incapable of standing up to her. Those aren't things that change easily, and you're okay with that? I'm learning to be, I said. I spent 28 years trying to be good enough for them, trying to earn the kind of love and support they gave Vanessa automatically. I'm done trying. If they want a relationship with me, they need to put in the work. They need to recognize what they did, apologize genuinely, and make actual changes. Until then, I'm focusing on the people who already value me. Michelle leaned against me. I'm glad I'm one of those people. You're top of the list, I assured her. When we got back to Chicago, I had an email from Professor Chen at Northwestern. Ethan, I wanted to let you know that your mother called our office again yesterday. She's now claiming you obtained your acceptance through fraudulent means and demanding we revoke your admission. I've escalated this to our legal team. They'll be sending her a formal cease and desist letter. I wanted to give you a heads up in case she escalates further. I forwarded the email to Grandma Evelyn's attorney with a note, adding this to the harassment file. My mother was spiraling. The more control she lost, the more desperately she tried to hurt me. But I was done being hurt by her. Law school orientation was in 2 weeks. I spent the time preparing, buying textbooks, setting up my class schedule, meeting other incoming students at orientation events. My mother made one final attempt to sabotage me. She somehow got the number for one of my future professors and called to warn him that I was emotionally unstable and potentially dangerous. The professor, a man named Gerald Sampson who taught criminal law, called me directly. Mr. Wallace, I received a concerning phone call about you from someone claiming to be your mother. I can explain. No need, Professor Sampson interrupted. I called Dean Chen to verify the claims. She filled me in on your situation. I'm calling to let you know that if your mother contacts me again, I'll be filing a formal complaint with campus security. Thank you, Professor. One more thing, he added. The fact that you're dealing with family harassment and still managing to prepare for law school tells me you're exactly the kind of resilient student we want at Northwestern. I look forward to having you in my class. When I told Grandma Evelyn about this latest attempt, she made a decision. I'm cutting your parents out of my will, she announced. Everything goes to you, Vanessa, and your Uncle Christopher. Grandma, you don't have to... Yes, I do. Your mother has burned every bridge. She's alienated most of the family, harassed your school, tried to sabotage your career. She doesn't deserve to benefit from my estate. What did Dad say? I haven't told him yet. I'll inform them both after the will is updated. But I wanted you to know first. 2 days before law school orientation, my parents showed up at my apartment building. The doorman called me. Mr. Wallace, there are 2 people here claiming to be your parents. They don't have your authorization to enter. Should I send them away? Yes, please. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. My father. Ethan, we need to talk, face to face. We have nothing to discuss. Your mother wants to apologize, he said desperately. She realizes she went too far. She's willing to admit she made mistakes. Put her on the phone then. Let me hear her say it. A pause. Then my mother's voice, tight and controlled. Ethan, I'm sorry if I did anything that upset you. I was only trying to protect you from making poor decisions, but I can see now that my methods were perhaps too harsh. Sorry if I did anything? I repeated. That's not an apology, Mom. That's you apologizing for my feelings, not your actions. What do you want me to say? She snapped, her careful control breaking. That I was a terrible mother? That everything I did was wrong? I won't do that because it's not true. I made decisions I thought were best for you, and I'm sorry you're too immature to understand that. There it is. I said quietly. Your real feelings. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry I didn't accept it gracefully. Ethan, please, my father started. I'm starting law school in 2 days, I said. I'm building a life I'm proud of, surrounded by people who actually support me. You're not part of that life. Stop trying to force your way into it. I hung up. They didn't try to contact me again after that. Law school started, and I threw myself into it. The work was challenging, exactly as difficult as everyone said it would be. But I thrived. I made study groups with classmates, impressed my professors with my analysis, and found genuine excitement in the material. Professor Sampson's criminal law class became my favorite. After the first month, he asked me to stay after class. You're doing excellent work, Wallace, he said. Have you thought about what area of law you want to practice? Family law, I said without hesitation. I want to help people navigate difficult family situations, divorces, custody battles, protection orders, because of your own experiences, he asked gently. Because I understand what it's like when family becomes toxic, I said, and I want to help other people set boundaries and protect themselves. He nodded thoughtfully. We have a family law clinic that partners with local domestic violence shelters. If you're interested, I can get you an interview for next semester. I took the position. By my second semester, I was helping real people file restraining orders against abusive family members, navigate contentious divorces, and establish custody arrangements that prioritize children's safety over parents' egos. Every client who came in terrified of standing up to their family, every person who thought they were being unreasonable for wanting basic respect, I understood them. And I could help them in ways I'd never been able to help myself until it was almost too late. 6 months into law school during Christmas break, Vanessa texted me, Mom and Dad are asking about you. They want to know if you'd be willing to have dinner with them. I thought about it for exactly 10 seconds before responding. No. They really do regret how things went, Vanessa wrote back. Dad, especially. He knows Mom went too far. Then Dad can apologize for enabling her for 28 years. And Mom can apologize for the actual things she did, not for my reaction to them. Until they're willing to do that, I have nothing to say to them. Vanessa didn't push. She'd learned not to. I spent Christmas with Michelle's family, who welcomed me warmly and treated me like I'd always been part of their lives. Her mother made sure to ask about my law school classes. Her father wanted to know about my career plans. Her younger brother challenged me to video games and actually seemed interested in hanging out. It was what family was supposed to feel like. On New Year's Eve, as Michelle and I watched fireworks over Lake Michigan, she asked me if I was happy. Yes, I said, and meant it completely. My parents had tried to cancel my celebration. They'd tried to sabotage my education. They'd tried to destroy my reputation and my opportunities. They'd failed. I had a law degree in progress, a career path I was passionate about, meaningful relationships, and self-respect I'd never had when I was trying to earn their approval. Most importantly, I had peace. The constant anxiety of wondering if I was good enough, the endless comparisons to Vanessa, the feeling that nothing I did would ever matter. All of it was gone. My mother had taught me that blood doesn't guarantee love, and that sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away from people who hurt you, even if they're family. It was the most valuable lesson she'd ever given me, even if she hadn't meant to teach it. 3 years later, I graduated from Northwestern Law School. Grandma Evelyn sat in the front row. Michelle was beside her. Aunt Linda, Uncle Christopher, and even Vanessa were there. My parents were not. I hadn't invited them. They hadn't asked to come. After the ceremony, as I posed for photos with people who'd actually supported me through law school, I saw my mother across the courtyard. She must have found out about the ceremony somehow and shown up uninvited. She stood alone, watching from a distance. Our eyes met briefly. I turned away and took another photo with my grandmother, laughing at something she'd said. When I looked back, my mother was gone. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no sadness, no anger. Just indifference. And that, I realized, was the truest form of freedom.